They say there's a moment, quiet, weightless, when the body exhales for the last time, and something invisible steps out. No one can record that instant. Not even the most advanced machine. Because what truly shifts is not just within the body, it's within the room itself. A nurse once described it to me. She had spent years by hospital beds, watching lives arrive and depart. She said, every time someone leaves, the air changes. The room grows lighter, as if something had gently lifted from it. She wasn't speaking of grief or imagination. There was something else, a presence, or perhaps an absence. Science tells us that life ends when the brain stops sending signals, when the lungs surrender, when the heart falls still. But those who've stood beside the dying will tell you, there is more than silence in that final second. There is movement, not physical, but felt. Maybe you felt it too, that eerie stillness after someone's last breath. It's not sorrow exactly, nor fear. It's a hush so deep it feels holy. Some call it the soul leaving. Others call it energy changing form. Whatever we name it, the mystery remains. What is it that steps out, and where does it go? Does consciousness simply switch off, like a light? Or does it step beyond what we can measure? Does it dissolve, or does it awaken? We live our whole lives chasing answers to questions of survival, success, and purpose, but rarely do we stop to ask the question that waits quietly in every breath. What happens when the breathing stops? Perhaps, in that final exhale, something ancient remembers its way home. Perhaps we are not ending, but returning to the same stillness from which we came, the silence that existed before the first cry of birth. If you listen carefully, death doesn't arrive with thunder. It comes like a sigh, like the ocean pulling its last wave back into itself. The body lies still, but the space around it feels strangely alive. What is that awareness we feel lingering, for seconds, maybe minutes, after the body is gone? What is it that seems to watch the watchers? Every faith, every philosophy, every science has tried to name that something. Some call it soul, some call it consciousness, some merely energy. But labels don't comfort us, experience does. And in that moment, experience tells us, something real has shifted. So tonight, as you breathe, slowly as you feel the air entering your lungs, ask yourself, what is the difference between a body that breathes and one that doesn't? Is it just oxygen and neurons, or something far greater, something timeless, that gives this breath meaning? Because one day, this breath, yours and mine, will stop. And maybe, just maybe, that will be the moment when we finally discover that the end we feared was never an end at all. At the turn of the 20th century, a quiet physician in Massachusetts stood before a question most scientists avoided. His name was Dr. Duncan McDougall, and he wanted to know, does the soul have weight? He wasn't a mystic. He wasn't trying to prove heaven or faith. He was a man of measurements, a believer in numbers, scales, and evidence. So he built a special bed, a hospital cot mounted on a delicate balance scale. He placed his dying patients upon it, their final breaths watched not by family, but by the unblinking eye of science. The room was silent except for the ticking of the clock and the slow rhythm of fading breath. He noted every heartbeat, every rise and fall of the chest. And then, when the breath finally stopped, something strange happened. The scale dipped. Not much. Just 21 grams. It was as if something light, unseen, had quietly slipped out of the body and disappeared into the air. Dr. McDougall checked everything. No drafts. No movement. No error he could find. He tried again, 6 patients in total. Each time, the same mysterious drop. The newspapers called it the weight of the soul. But for him, it wasn't a headline. It was an unanswered whisper from the unknown. He wrote in his notes, the instant life departed, the beam tipped suddenly. There was no mistaking it. Later, nurses would describe similar sensations. One said, at the moment of passing, the air feels lighter, as if warmth itself leaves the body. Families spoke of peaceful smiles that appeared in the final second, as though the dying had seen something, or someone, waiting for them. And then there were the ones who came back. People revived from near death who said, I was floating above my body. I could see the doctors. I felt free, calm and weightless. It's easy to dismiss these stories as illusion, as tricks of the brain in its last surge of oxygen. But beneath all the data and skepticism, there lies a single human longing to understand what makes us truly alive. Dr. McDougall wasn't just measuring weight. He was measuring wonder. He was searching for the invisible boundary between presence and absence, between breath and eternity. And though his experiment could never prove what he hoped, its echo remains, a reminder that even in the age of reason, we are haunted by something that science alone cannot hold. Because when the scales tipped by 21 grams, it wasn't just the loss of weight he recorded, it was the hint of a mystery, leaving but never gone. Maybe the soul isn't a thing to weigh, but an experience to feel, the bridge between awareness and form. For centuries, we've searched for proof of the invisible, but perhaps proof was never the point. Perhaps the soul was never meant to be measured, only remembered. We spend our lives believing we are the body, its heartbeat, its hunger, its name. But the truth is softer, more elusive. We are not the heartbeat. We are the one who hears it. Neuroscience tells us that, in the moment of death, the brain begins to dim, neurons shutting down, signals fading into silence. And yet, paradoxically, many who return from that edge describe clarity, not confusion. They speak of light, of peace, of awareness more vivid than life itself. So we ask again, is consciousness produced by the brain, or merely received by it, like a radio catching a signal that already exists? If the radio breaks, does the music stop, or does it simply play somewhere else? Psychologically, our fear of death is not the fear of nothingness. It is the fear of losing someone, ourselves, our story, our reflection in the mirror. But identity is only a story consciousness tells itself, a temporary mask on something ancient and vast. When the mask falls, the awareness beneath it doesn't vanish. It simply returns to what it always was, the quiet witness behind every thought, every face, every breath. So maybe death is not the end of awareness, but the end of pretending we were ever anything else. The story ends, but the storyteller remains. In quantum physics, nothing truly disappears. Energy only changes form. Every atom that once formed your body has lived 1,000 lives before, in trees, in oceans, in the breath of others. So could awareness obey the same law? If matter only transforms, why not consciousness, the subtlest energy of all? Eastern philosophy has whispered this truth for centuries. In the Upanishads, it is written, Atman never dies, only the body's form dissolves. The self is not the flesh that withers, but the spark that witnesses its passing. And in the West, the mystics spoke the same language in different words. They called the soul a drop of water returning to the ocean, not lost, but reunited, not vanished, but home. Dr. Pim van Lommel, a cardiologist, studied hundreds of patients who were clinically dead, no heartbeat, no measurable brain activity, yet later described vivid awareness. They spoke of light, peace, of watching their own resuscitations from above. And Dr. Sam Parnia found the same echoes. Across hospitals, cultures, and beliefs, the stories repeated: clarity, connection, and an overwhelming sense of love. Science records their testimonies with caution. It cannot yet explain why a silent brain still holds the memory of sight, sound, or transcendence. But maybe the answer lies not in the neurons, but in the field beyond them. Perhaps consciousness isn't trapped inside the skull. Perhaps it surrounds us, a vast ocean of awareness through which our lives briefly ripple. Maybe the soul doesn't leave the body. Maybe the body leaves the soul. The form returns to dust, but the essence, the observer, remains untouched. Just as a dream dissolves at dawn, yet the dreamer wakes unchanged. In that sense, death isn't a departure. It's a reunion, a homecoming. The moment the wave realizes it was never separate from the sea. When you understand this, fear begins to soften. Because what dies is only what was borrowed: the name, the face, the body of clay. What remains is what was eternal all along: the silent witness, the field of awareness itself. So when we look at death through the eyes of science and through the heart of spirit, we see the same reflection: Nothing is truly lost. Everything only changes form and returns home. Perhaps the soul doesn't rise upward, it simply unfolds like a final breath turning into wind. For so long, we've spoken of death as a departure, as if something precious leaves us. But maybe it isn't leaving at all. Maybe it's simply becoming invisible. What we call the end might only be a soft transition, a return to what was always waiting behind the noise of life. The body rests, the heart slows, but the awareness that once looked through our eyes continues, like light through a window after the figure behind it has stepped away. Death is not an erasure. It's a release. The soul loosens its grip on form and flows back into what it has always been. The quiet vastness behind every thought, every heartbeat, every breath. And if that's true, then life, too, becomes sacred in a new way. Every small act, a gentle word, a hand held, a forgiveness offered, ripples beyond what the eyes can see. Because if the soul continues, then nothing kind is ever lost. Every act of love becomes eternal. We live as if moments vanish. But what if they don't? What if they remain, stored not in memory, but in the very field of awareness that carries us all? The ones we have lost, they are not gone. They are simply beyond the range of our senses, like a melody still playing after the radio has been turned off. So breathe. Be gentle with this breath, for it is borrowed from eternity. Speak softly. Love deeply. Forgive quickly. Because one day, our breath will leave too, but until then, let it carry truth, softness, and wonder. And when that moment comes, when silence fills the room once more, remember, you are not the body that lies still. You are the wind that moves through it. When we talk about death, we finally learn how to live.